Hello there, welcome to our Friday Live. I'm just finishing getting set up and we will jump into our demo for this Friday. I hope you had a great week. It's been raining here all week long, or most of the week I guess. Kind of depressing for San Diego, but it got me kind of in a gray mood. So we're going to be working with some gray colors tonight, kind of a monochromatic palette. But it's one of my favorites, actually. I've used this many times. So hopefully we'll get a fun, cool painting out of it. So welcome, everyone. Hey, Monique and Susan is here. Nice to see you, Susan. Carla is here. Pat. Great. Awesome. Well, welcome, everyone. So I've got my paints all mixed and ready to go. I'm working on a 16 by 20 panel tonight. Just for something a little different. Got out one of my panels and we will see what's going to happen. So I'm going to be doing a cloud pour again. I did a cloud pour last week and it turned out okay. You saw it, but it was a little too cloudy for my tastes. So I'm going to cut back a little bit on the cloud mixture that I add to my layered cup, and I'm using my real easy cloud formula, which is the Behr satin enamel and my Craft Smart white paint. So I'll show you what that is in a second. And so hopefully I'll cut back a little bit on the cloudiness. These will be a little bit different looking cloud than what we had last week. And I really like the way these kind of clouds look. Very interesting effect. And we'll see what it looks like with this kind of monochromatic, it's kind of a silvery gold, black and blue palette. So we'll take a look at it here in a second. So let me jump on over and let's take a look at our colors and we will get going. So here we go. And all right. So we've got my panel ready to go, my 16 by 20. I'm using, it's pretty simple color palette. Artist Loft Silver right here, Master's Touch Gold, which is a very beautiful gold. I really like using this gold quite a bit. It's not too kind of bronzy. It's a very kind of bright and kind of yellowy pure gold. I really like that one a lot. I've got some Liquitex Payne's Gray, and down here I've got some black with some Payne's Gray in it as well. It's mostly black, a little bit of Payne's Gray just to add a little more extra blue to it, and that's just the Artist Loft black. Over here I've got a gray, and this is just going to be, it's mostly white with a little bit of black in it. It's just my base coat color, so very simple. And then here is the cloud mix. Pull the cap off of there. And so that is the Behr Premium Plus Paint and Primer Interior Satin Enamel, Ultra Pure White, which is number 7050. You get this at the Home Depot. It's about 15 bucks for a quart, but the quart will last a pretty long time. And then it's my Craft Smart White. So we use two whites in this mixture. It's 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part of the Craft Smart White, and then 1 part of the Behr satin enamel. So it's a very simple formula. And with this one, I never really add water. It's pretty much ready to go. You could add a tiny bit of water if you wanted to thin it just a little bit. I might have added a little bit of water actually in this one, but it's my number 2 consistency, which is kind of the standard consistency I use most often, really. All the other colors I have are the easy formula, 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint, and then just enough water to get them all to the same kind of standard small mound consistency. And that's pretty much it. So very simple. The base coat is exactly the same, easy formula, same consistency. I like to have the base coat same consistency as everything else. And I think I saw a question here. Where is it? Facebook user. Maybe this is Donna. I'm not sure. I can't get Behr in ounces. Any alternative? Well, you could always use the satin enamel from DecoArt. DecoArt satin enamel works really, really well. It gives you a little different look, but it's kind of the classic satin enamel. So you can give that a try if that's available to you. So let's see here. Oh, and it's so it's Chris, and she's saying it's Australia. So okay, so you can't get the bear over in Australia, not ounces, but okay, that makes sense. Well, I'd still recommend probably the DecoArt DecoArt satin enamel paints. Those work really, really well. So I think you can maybe find those over there. If not, you could check with your paint store. Maybe they have a different type of satin enamel you could try out. Now, don't get confused. Satin enamel is a water-based paint. So enamel is often thought of as an oil-based paint, but this is a water-based enamel. So you got to get water-based enamel paint. So don't let that confuse you. You don't want to get oil-based paint. So you can give that a try and see what they have. So, all right, cool. Well, thanks for the help and clarifying that. I appreciate it. So hopefully that helps you out. So let's jump in and get started here. I'm going to move some of these paints away. And I've used this color scheme or variation of it many times. I don't think I've ever used this color scheme with this particular cloud mixture though, so that'll be kind of fun to see what happens. And I'm going to move my paints over here. I'm going to get rid of these. And let's go ahead and put some base coat on our panel and spread that around. And then we'll get going. So just kind of a regular base coat. Hopefully I put on enough. Usually I put on too much, as you all know. We'll find out here in a minute. I like working with the gray, just kind of a neutral color. It's totally going to get covered up. I'm not going to leave any negative space in this one. So my intention for this is to just tilt it over all of the edges and sides and corners. So no negative space, which is why I'm just using kind of a regular gray. Here we go, almost there. And I think I did put on perhaps a little too much. So I'm just going to scoop a little off maybe. Kind of work it towards the corner, or center, I should say, not the corner. And just scoop a bit off. There we go. Even that out, and I think we have got it. So that looks pretty good to me. Nice and even. There are not too many air bubbles in here, but we could always torch if we wanted to. And I might do that. So I've got my torch here. Do a little popping of air bubbles, which is always good. Another thing that is nice about using a colored base coat, if you use white all the time and you get a lot of air bubbles popping, it can leave these little white specks in your painting sometimes, which are, you know, not the most desirable thing. But with a colored base coat, you're not going to notice them as much, unless you pour, you know, an all white painting on there. But anyway, I'm going to just slide this over here a moment, and then we can layer our cup. I'm going to be using my measuring cup again, this kind of larger one, more of a standard one, instead of my skinnier one. So I'm just trying the same kind of thing I did last week, only with a little bit different mixture. So we'll see what our results are like. So I'm going to be using 10 ounces of paint in my measuring cup. That's how much we need for a straight pour or ring pour on a 16 by 20. So let's go ahead and layer our cup. I'm going to layer from the spout side right here, and then of course pour out of the spout side. I'm going to start with a little bit of the silver first. And then I'm going to be using my white. I'm going to be using just one layer of white. So I used a little bit thicker layer, but I just am going to be using only that one layer of the cloud mix. And then I'm going to go back, just add a little bit more of the silver. And then I'm going to go with my gold and the Payne's gray. And maybe a little silver in between. Just a little variation. And then a little of the black. I don't want to use a lot of the black. I just want a little bit of black for extra darkness, a little more oomph with the values. But I don't want to go crazy with the black. So that's probably going to be the only layer of black. Then back to our silver, gold and silver. And I'm almost there. A little bit more Payne's gray. And you might be thinking this is going to be a really dark painting, but that white, the cloud mixture, is going to be kind of going and creating these clouds and kind of maybe taking over a little bit more room. So at least that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. We'll find out in a minute. I'm just going to scoop out the rest of my silver here. And that might be it. And we're just at that 10 ounces. So we just have the right amount, which looks pretty good. And I'm going to call that, my cup is full. So it's all the way up to 10. I'm just going to scooch my paints over here. And we'll pour on our layered cup. All right, so let's go ahead and pour this on. I'm going to, again, pour not quite, I'm not going to pour right in the center. I'm going to go off center a little bit. And that's just for, hopefully gives me a little bit more flexibility when I tilt. But let's get started. Oops, before I do that, I'm going to flip the camera. Almost forgot. So this should give you a little bit better view of our puddle as it's poured out. So here we go. Again, just a nice even stream. It's just a straight pour is basically what I'm doing. I'm not going to put any rings in it. Just nice and straight. So far, it's looking pretty good. The measuring cup gives you a really nice stream of paint because of the spout. I've done many straight pours, ring pours using just regular cups. And it's hard to get this really nice, even stream of paint. It usually wants to form kind of more of a ribbon. So I really like using a cup that has a spout on it. And I'm starting to see some cloudiness coming. We're not quite to the cloud mix yet. Here it's starting to come out. There we go. So I'm just going to keep on pouring until I'm just about to the end of my cup. You could also give it a little twist if you wanted to. Just turn it a little bit. And that is it. So let me pull that away. And it's looking pretty good. I'm just going to give it a minute here. It's not looking like a normal cloud pour. I'm not exactly sure why. But I'm just going to give it a minute and let things kind of settle in there. And I think I'm actually seeing some pop up right around here. So I think we're in good shape. I'm just going to give it a minute or two to develop. So I'm going to flip back to the top view. And yeah, just give it a minute. You could torch. I normally don't torch this. I'm not going to torch this one. I don't want to pop any other air bubbles that might be trapped in there. The clouds will kind of do their thing on their own without any help from the torch. So I don't want to bring up any other like air bubbles that aren't the cloud mixture. But it's looking pretty cool. These puddles always look very awesome just by themselves. And then we have to tilt them out and change them. Now, if you wanted to, you could put this on your spinner, spin it out, and you'll keep something very similar to what we have here, this very circular composition. So those can be very fun to do as well. And I'm just going to wait another 30 seconds here, and we'll see what happens when we start tilting. Just going to give my bottle a little squirt with some water, let that kind of do its thing, and I'll clean that up later. Okay. So that looks pretty good. Let's get started and see what we got. So I'm going to go to the left this time. Just expand the paint puddle out. Again, try not to go off the edges yet. Looks pretty good. And you can always just turn it, put it down, turn it. I do this all the time. Just get a better grip, get a better angle, turn it around. And there we go. So we've got a pretty nice looking paint puddle. I'm liking where it's going. I really like what's happening with the center. It's kind of an interesting center. It's not like full of white cloud mix. So I like to use, the last few I've done, I've put a different color instead of the cloud mixture first. So this time it was silver. Gives you a little bit more interesting center than just that white cloud mixture center. So I've been kind of experimenting with that, and I've liked the results lately. I think I'm going to pour over off of this corner up here first. And it's the furthest away from all the action. So I'm gonna pour this one off first, and we'll see what happens. I don't love that corner. I'm going to go back. I can already tell I don't like it. And pour gonna get something I like. So I could tell already that I wasn't gonna like what happened there. So instead of going over and tilting all the corners and then coming back, if you know right away, go ahead and tilt off, and you can kind of save yourself some time and avoid overstretching. I'm gonna go over here next. I like that dark corner, so I'm going to try to leave some of that on there. Yeah, I'm going to I'm bringing it down to this corner closer to me. I'm going to set it down, get a little better grip, different angle, and we're going to pour off of this one next. So again, I'm kind of letting a little more come off this corner. And one left. Okay, last one, and I want to keep some more of this dark. I want some of that dark value. So I'm just going to let that roll over the edge and then go back. Watch the thumbs. The thumbs like to drip in your painting. Okay, and there we go. So we've covered everything. We've done a little bit more extensive tilt off the first go around there, but I really like what's happening. So we've got this, not the greatest looking corner, but we could modify that in a second if we wanted to. I'm liking the position of our center is kind of cool. So I think I'm almost done with the tilting. I don't think there's anything else I really want to do. I'm just gonna maybe adjust things slightly. And there we go. I think I'm pretty happy with that. And those clouds are going to continue to develop as things kind of settle down here. So we'll just kind of keep an eye on them. And they might develop quite a bit more, or just a little bit more. You can kind of see, it's hard to tell, but I think they're going to keep expanding a little bit. But I really like the way these clouds look with this particular formula. They're not quite as fluffy as using the DecoArt satin enamel, but they have this very interesting, unique look, which I quite like a whole lot. So let's see here. So we'll just take a look at that, let that kind of do its thing. Let me flip back here. This is kind of fun. So I'm going to flip back to me. Hello again. And if you have any questions, there might have been a couple questions that came in. I'll take a look and answer them, and then we'll flip back in a minute and we can see how things have developed. So let's see here. Well, thanks, Novala. Hey, Novala. Nice to see you, and thank you very much. I appreciate that. And thanks, Carla. I appreciate the great comments. And let's see. And Lynn is asking, is the ounces on a measuring cup the same amount as the ounces on a kitchen scale? If your kitchen scale is in fluid ounces, they should be very similar. I usually don't use a scale to measure my cups. I want to mark my cups or use a measuring cup, but you could give it a try. It should be close. If you have like a digital scale that you want to try to use, it should be close. But make sure you're using fluid ounces. So, good question. I'm going to take a sip of water. And let's see, Sybil's asking for the formula one more time of the cloud mix. This one is the Easy Cloud mix. So it's 2 parts Floetrol, just the US Floetrol, American Floetrol. 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part of the Bare satin enamel paint, which is this one right here. And then 1 part of the Craft Smart white paint. This one, the Craft Smart is the Michaels brand. So I get this at Michaels. This is just regular Craft Smart acrylic paint, white. And that's pretty much it. A little bit of water if you want to get it just to the perfect consistency. It usually doesn't take very much water. And there you go. That's it. That's one of the 3 different cloud mixtures I use. This is usually the easiest one to find the ingredients. And a lot of people ask, can you use another white? You could try, but I have not had the same results with different whites other than, if you're trying to replace the Craft Smart white, the results will vary. So that Craft Smart white is a pretty reactive acrylic paint, and so it kind of helps generate these cells. So hopefully that helps. And let's see here. And Carla's saying, yes, the brief corner. We want to avoid those brief corners. Carla, you're fantastic. Oh my gosh. And let's see here. Okay. And Lynn is asking, are the PDFs from Wednesday on the website? Yes, they're on the website. If you go into the products tab, the top of your screen there, and go to the Studio Chat, or Pouring Studio PDF section or Studio Chat section, and the very top Studio Chat entry, those PDFs will be in there. So just click on that top entry. It'll open up another page, and you'll be able to download those PDFs from right in there. And then someone's asking, why do you think the craft paint is needed? Why not just use the HD paint, the Home Depot paint? If you use just the satin enamel by itself, it can be a little too much. You'll get way too big of a reaction. It can be overpowering, and it can really take over your painting. So we're kind of limiting the cloud mix that really, really reactive cloud effect by kind of tempering it down using another type of paint. And that craft paint is also kind of reactive, but not nearly as much so as the satin enamel. So it's just trial and error. It's just what I have discovered. I've done many, many different formulas and tests, and this is what works best for me. Feel free to experiment on your own with different formulas. Use different whites. You could try just going straight with the Home Depot satin enamel. You'll get different results. You might love them though. So I'm just sharing what my experiments and knowledge have discovered. And Lynn is asking, what do you call them? Well, if you go to the studio chat, it's going to be Acrylic Pouring Journal 2.0, which is one of the handouts, and the other one is the, I forget exactly what I named it, but color, I think it's the color mixing cards, I think is what I called them. It's that very first, it's the very first studio chat under the studio chat section. Should be pretty easy to find. And B-Man has joined us. Hey, B-Man. Thanks for dropping by and saying hi. And someone's asking, can I use titanium white? Again, you can try it. You're going to get a little bit different results than what we've had here. But give it a shot. If you have another type of craft paint, like the Montmarte, I know, you could try the Montmarte paint. That might do something similar to the Craft Smart. So give it a try. If you can't get the Craft Smart, don't worry about it too much. Just try another alternative white. Your results should be somewhat similar. But yeah, just experiment and give it a try. Cool. All right, so I don't see any other questions at the moment. And so let's jump back over and take another look and see how the clouds have developed. So I'm going to pop back over here and we'll take a look. So we've got a little bit more development over here with our clouds, not tons and tons. It's very similar still, but I'm pretty happy about what we're getting. Not overwhelming with clouds, so I think it's just a nice balance. We've got some cool of those tighter rings over here, and some cool clouds over here. I really quite like the center a lot. That turned out very cool. We got some little clouds down here even, so I'm pretty happy with that one, all in all. So I think it turned out pretty good. And Donna's got a kind of a question comment. She says, Donna here, guessing you could use a color craft paint. Yes, I think you could. If you use that Craft Smart, give it a try. I haven't used the colored craft or Craft Smart craft paint. That's hard to say, but I have a feeling it would work pretty well for you. So great comment. And Carla's saying, what about Apple Barrel? Now, Apple Barrel can work, and I know that Sarah Taylor uses Apple Barrel white as well as a couple other whites in her Pearl formula. Apple Barrel white, if you're going to use it, I would probably use not the matte Apple Barrel, but go with like a little bit more expensive one. Use the satin, and I think the satin one would probably work better. The matte is notorious for cracking as it dries, so I would probably stay away from the matte. But of course, you know, Sarah Taylor she adds lots of different stuff to her formula. But if we're just going to try a very simple formula, I'd probably go with the satin Apple Barrel white and see if that works. That's a great comment, Carla. Great thought. And awesome. Yeah. Yeah, Chris. Yeah, just play around with the different ones you can get. I know in Australia you can't get everything we can get over here in the US, but yeah, don't let that, intimidate you or scare you. Just use what you can find and give it a shot and see what you come up with. So, and I think you might surprise yourself with, and now one thing you can use over there is your Floetrol is a whole lot more reactive than our Floetrol over here. So you kind of have a advantage in that way. But yeah, just play around, see what happens, and just have fun with it. And I think you might really, really get some great results. So, awesome. And yes, I think Donna is saying, yeah, she adds the GAC 800, which helps the cracking for sure. Yeah, because you're adding more binder to your paints. And that's, what Sarah Taylor does. She adds Liquitex pouring medium, GAC 800. She adds all kinds of stuff. So it's a very complicated and expensive formula. So that will work too, of course. So yeah, there's many ways to kind of get what you want. There's not just one way, there's many ways. So yeah, just try it out and see what happens. So, but that's a great point, Donna. And Carla's saying, just reading Sarah's recipe makes me tired. Yeah, it makes my wallet tired too. It's expensive. So, but she gets great results. I mean, she's a pro, and she knows what she's doing. But there's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say, and there's more than one way to get a cloud pour. So just play around. You only need some. The most important ingredient is some kind of a satin enamel, whether it be the Behr satin enamel or the DecoArt satin enamel, some type of satin enamel, and you can kind of improvise from there and play around with a lot of different things. So, all right. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to flip back here. So that's our cloud pour. I think it turned out pretty well. Pretty happy with it. We'll see if it continues to develop. When it's dry, I'll put it up behind me and you can check it out. So I think that's it for our demo. Thanks for joining me. Great questions. And appreciate all of the awesome comments. It's always nice when the demo turns out well. So thanks, everyone. I hope you have a great weekend. Try a cloud pour if you want to. And I will talk to you again next week. Take care and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.